Many times when I'm helping out a client with their VA disability claim, I'll ask them, hey, how is this disability related to service? And they don't always know. They don't always have a clear answer of how one of their current disabilities is related to their time in service. And that's okay if you don't know. Welcome to VA Made Easy. I'm VA-accredited attorney and U.S. Army combat veteran Ed Farmer. Today, I'm going to give you 6 tips you could use to try to figure out how your disability is related to your military service. If you've been denied your claim, visit me at vetlawoffice.com. I provide not only zealous advocacy, I have access to VA medical nexus opinions. I'll prep you before your CMP exam, and we have investigators to help you with those buddy statements. Get a free consultation at vetlawoffice.com. But for now, let's get into it. So I've said many times on this channel, the VA isn't going to determine your theory of service connection for you. It's important that you have some sort of idea of how your condition is related to service. So my first tip in determining how your disability is related to service is look at your service treatment records. You may have been treated for something in service that seemed minor at the time, but now it's really important and it's going to go towards proving your claim. Let me give you an example. I had a client who had an autoimmune condition, and he had speculation that may be related to service, but he wasn't really sure how. He mentioned, burn pits or some other toxic exposure, but the science really wasn't there. Then I started reviewing his service treatment records and saw that he was treated for a cold, sinus infection, another virus, some more infections. He had all sorts of viruses and infections during his time in service. He didn't think anything of it. Turns out that was one of the number one precursors to getting this autoimmune disease he had, is constant infections and viruses. It reduces your immune system. And that was a key to winning his case. So take a look at your service treatment records. There might be something in there that could help you determine how your condition is related to your military service. My second tip for figuring out how your disability is related to service is think about your service. Maybe you were exposed to something harmful or toxic. Sometimes it's not obvious. So I had a client who suffered from all sorts of nerve conditions and respiratory conditions. And again, he thought it might be related to service, but he wasn't sure how. And then I started talking to him about what he did in the military. And he was a military lithographer. And that requires the use of a lot of solvents and chemicals. He said sometimes he'd be up into his armpits in solvents. And then it clicked with me. Some of the chemicals in these solvents cause these cancers. So think about your service. Were you exposed to something harmful? Sometimes there is an inherent danger to your MOS, or military occupational specialty. I had another client who was involved with EOD, explosive ordnance detail, and he was exposed to a lot of blasts during a short period of time. And he was trying to claim these tremors that he had, his tremors in his hand. He didn't really know what caused them, but he had an inkling that he thought it might be military related. Well, it turns out when you're exposed to a lot of blasts like that in a short period of time, it could cause conditions such as essential tremors. So give it some thought. I mean, what were the risks or harms related to your military occupational specialty? My third tip for determining how a condition is related to your military service is consider secondary conditions. Maybe your condition isn't directly related to your military service, but it's connected to another condition secondarily. Again, sometimes this is not always obvious. Depression is a good example of this. So maybe you claim depression related to that one acute episode you had in service, but maybe your depression is actually being caused by the constant pain from your service-connected back condition. Look at your primary conditions and see what other conditions those primary conditions could cause. Diabetes, for example, causes all sorts of other secondary conditions that you may not know about, nerve conditions, eye problems. So research it a little bit. Do your primary conditions have related secondary conditions? And is one of the conditions you're claiming fall under one of those secondary conditions? My fourth tip for determining if your condition is related to military service is consider presumptive conditions. A presumptive condition is a condition the VA will presume is related to your military service if you have the right service requirements. And again, it's not always obvious. For example, let's go back to diabetes. If I didn't know that diabetes was a presumptive Agent Orange related condition, I would never think to make that connection. It's not logical that diabetes is caused from Agent Orange necessarily, but it is. And the VA has scientific proof to back it up. It's a presumptive condition of Agent Orange. So Vietnam veterans don't have all the presumptives. The PACT Act grants certain presumptive conditions as well as Gulf War veterans. My fifth tip for determining if a condition is related to your military service is ask a physician. And I don't mean go out and get one of these BS medical nexus opinions that one of these companies online are selling to you. These copy and paste jobs. That's not what I'm talking about. There's a time and place for nexus opinions, but that shouldn't be the first thing you do is run out and get one. Ask your treating physician, hey, doc, do you think this condition may be related to one of my other conditions, or do you see a connection to this condition in my military service? Let your treating physician, who knows your health better than anybody, try to make and connect those dots for you. And my sixth tip for determining whether or not your condition is related to military service is get help. Talk to a VA-accredited attorney or agent. I've handled thousands of cases. I've seen things connected every which way. You may not be thinking of a way to connect it that I think of. So contact me at vetlawoffice.com. But for now, keep liking, keep sharing, keep subscribing. And as always, you have the power to change your VA claim.